Whether it's trying to complement the core or rebuild for the future, the Boston Bruins need to pick a lane and do it right now as all of these trades happen around us in advance of the NHL Draft on Friday.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans? I am Ian McLaren. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, and this episode is brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. On today's podcast, we are going to discuss yesterday's flurry of trade activity around the NHL. Better than some trade deadline days, this random Tuesday in June. Well, not so random because the NHL Draft is upon us on Friday, and teams are jockeying for draft position for this upcoming season. And look, we're heading into Friday's draft. Yesterday's explosion of trade activity around the league taught us that the NHL offseason has shifted into overdrive already. And Don Sweeney can't be left sitting on the sidelines, and Cam Neely needs to get on the horn following his appearance on the late night show with Jimmy Fallon last night alongside Dennis Leary. We have to talk about the agonizing structural puzzle that is facing Sweeney, Neely right here in Boston. The Bruins have successfully locked down an elite, prime-aged franchise core. They have David Pastrnak, one of the premier goal scorers on the planet in his absolute peak prime. Although you could argue that he's trending downwards, seeing as he's gone from 113 points a couple years ago to only 100 this year, including 29 goals to go along with 71 assists. But he's still one of the best wingers in the NHL, without question. They have Charlie McAvoy, anchored as the franchise number one defenseman, who playing as hard as he can amid a bunch of injuries over the past couple of years. Hopefully this coming season, full health, he'll build on the career offensive numbers that he just posted this past season, despite breaking his jaw in November. And then, of course, there's Jeremy Swayman, the undisputed elite anchor in net, who finished in the top 3 in voting for the Vezina Trophy this season as the NHL's, or one of the NHL's top goaltenders. On paper, this is a trio that should have this team contending for a Stanley Cup. But there's massive, unavoidable problems. The Bruins are trying to build a true championship contender around them while staring into a severe deficit of immediate asset and future asset depth. The Bruins don't have the players in place to build out the roster to complement this core. Now look, these guys came up with the previous core still intact, right? You had Tuukka Rask, Zdeno Chara, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, David Krejci, all still in the mix. And all 3 of these guys currently anchoring the core were part of the team that, set records back in the regular season of 2022-2023, the winningest team in NHL regular season history. And, were present back in 2019 when the Boston Bruins went all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Those were 2 prime opportunities for the Bruins to kind of finish the era of the previous core with wins and then allowed these guys to kind of start their careers with wins and try to carry that forward. Jeremy Swayman, of course, being the exception. He wasn't present on that 2019 team, but he was around in 2022-23 when the Bruins went on that record-breaking regular season run. Didn't happen, though. Game 7 heartbreak in 2019. Game 7 heartbreak in the first round in 2023. And now the Bruins are trying to get back to that level. And it's kind of compounded by the disappointment of not having won a second Stanley Cup with the previous core. There were opportunities, of course, 2013, 2019, 2023, but that pressure just continues to build, especially now that Don Sweeney has been GM of this club for 11 years now. And he did go all in 2023, to his credit. He had sent some first round picks in the past out in order to bring in some help. It didn't pay off. 2019, you could argue that miscues at the 2015 draft really hurt this team. They didn't have a Kyle Connor to play wing over Carson Kuhlman. But in 2023, like, you can't argue that Don Sweeney didn't do everything he could and more to get this team another cup before Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci retired, and to kind of satiate Brad Marchand's drive to win another cup. Think about the traditional model of building an NHL contender. You pay your superstars their premium market value. You insulate those cap hits with steady rotating pipeline of cheap, impactful, young talent playing on entry-level contracts, and you sign smart deals for the secondary core. But because Don Sweeney pushed his chips in the middle of the table at consecutive deadlines for nearly a decade, the cupboard is pretty bare. It's being restocked. You got James Higgins, you've got Will Zellers, you've got, Fraser Minton, Marat Husnudinov have come up and made immediate impacts. You've got Dean Letourneau. You've got guys that haven't really worked out. Mason Lohrei down on the blue line showing flashes of poise and top 4 potential, but clearly in trade discussions. You've got Matt Poitras, who made an immediate impact and hit as a rookie, but has been down in Providence for quite some time, and adding to the likes of Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov, who these kind of tweeners who haven't really gotten a huge shot at the NHL level, kind of stagnated development in Providence. And then to compound that, you've got contracts to aging guys like Hampus Lindholm, Elias Lindholm. You're on the books for several more seasons to these guys, and you're not able to invest in younger players coming up who could be potential free agent acquisitions. You've got Elias Lindholm for 5 more years. He's 31 years old. You've got Hampus Lindholm at age 32 for 4 more years. Zadorov, 31 for 4 more years. Like, this team is just facing this dangerous trap where, while the trade market is commanding premium assets the Bruins don't possess or are unwilling to part with potentially, the immediate temptation will be to back up the Brinks truck, to bring Andrew Peeke back, to bring Victor Arvidsson back. But filling gaping holes at top 6 wing, top 4 right shot defenseman, top line center through unrestricted free agency means perhaps signing older players to max term, highly inflated deals like Erasmus Anderson or maybe Alex Tuck as well. That would be a nice signing for the Bruins, but at the same time, you're going to be paying double-digit millions to a guy who may or may not be able to complement this core in the way that you want them to. Does all of this help Pastrnak, McAvoy, Swayman over the next couple of years? Yeah, absolutely. But those contracts almost inevitably become unmovable. Elias Lindholm's contract already is. They can be restrictive anchors in years 4, 5, and 6. And right when this core hits their early 30s and needs flexible financial support, the cap could be choked out by aging veteran deals. Now, to escape this vice grip, Boston cannot afford a passive approach or a standard kind of free agent or rental strategy. They have to be aggressive and explore hockey trades, selling high on valuable roster assets that don't align with that outlook, maybe like a Pavel Zacha, to extract younger, cost-control players who can step onto the ice and impact the team immediately. Like, they're walking the ultimate tightrope right now, trying to retool on the fly and not slide into competitive purgatory. And we're going to discuss kind of that tightrope walk here as the podcast continues and in the context of all these trades that dropped around the NHL yesterday. The World Cup is here. It's been so much fun to watch. It's the most electric time in world soccer. And on Kalshi, you can trade every single match, including the championship game. Here's how it works. Let's take today's Switzerland-Canada game as an example. Switzerland is trading at a 40% probability to beat Canada, meaning a $100 trade pays out $239.92 if Switzerland wins. As the World Cup heats up, those numbers move in real time, and you can buy in and out of your position at any time. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there is no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. That's Kalshi, Kalshi, where you can trade on anything. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins part of your daily routine. And you can get your Locked On Bruins fix daily, ad-free, by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start a 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions by clicking the link in the show notes or going to lockedonbruins.supercast.com to claim your free trial. So the Boston Bruins, again, they're kind of in this weird middle spot, and they're unable to kind of pull off some of the moves that others are making right now. Because the Bruins didn't get the benefit of lottery ball luck this year, or last year really, but this year, the Toronto Maple Leafs winning the number 1 overall pick instead of Boston getting the 6 or 7 pick. We're seeing right now that premium draft capital is king. 4 massive deals dropped yesterday around the NHL, and that was pretty much the key takeaway. If you want an impact player right now, it'll cost you at least a top 20 pick. Buffalo weaponized their roster depth to land the number 4 overall selection by moving Bowen Byram. St. Louis snagged the number 16 pick from Washington, along with Connor McMichael for Jordan Kyrou. San Jose completely dictated the terms of a deal with the Ottawa Senators, extracting the number 9 overall pick from Ottawa in exchange for William Eklund. And there's also, we'll discuss Simon Nemec in a moment here as well. Speaking of the Atlantic Division, think about what we're looking at right now. Brad Marchand, former captain down in Florida, continuing on with a loaded Panther squad that just added Brady Tkachuk. They still need a goaltender. They still need a bunch of pieces, but still an unreal team down there. The Senators completely avoided a post-Brady Tkachuk rebuild by turning around and flipping assets package immediately for William Eklund, giving them a dynamic, young, team-controlled scorer at a highly digestible $5.6 million cap hit for 3 more seasons. And the Sabres cleared over $10 million in cap space by shipping out Bowen Byram and Jordan Greenway while getting the 4th overall pick. They are unencumbered, dangerous, fully prepared to weaponize that space to push the cost of the July 1st free agency class through the roof. So you have the Florida Panthers, who will be back this season, the Ottawa Senators, who aren't messing around after trading Brady Tkachuk, the Montreal Canadiens went to the Eastern Conference Final. You have, we'll see what the Detroit Red Wings do with Dylan Larkin, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are being active. Tampa Bay Lightning are always going to be competitive. And meanwhile, a young top 4 right shot defenseman the Bruins desperately needed was sent to Calgary yesterday. Calgary jumped the line and bought on 22-year-old Simon Nemec, and that cost them a couple first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a prospect, which would be the equivalent of Boston trading like this year's first, next year's first, and another pick, and maybe like a Frederick Brunet or a Dan Schluck-Mellis. So right now, near term, the Bruins asset cupboard is kind of light. They hold the 23rd overall pick on Friday. Because Toronto won that draft lottery, they'll pick first overall, and they'll push their unprotected pick down the road to the Bruins in 2028. Don Sweeney is sitting on a pretty high amount of kind of long-term assets, though. They have 4 first-round picks, actually 5 first-round picks over the next 3 years, including 3 in 2028, 1 next year, and 1 this year. So, of course, they have Florida's 2028 pick, their own 2028 pick, and the Toronto 2028 pick. So, Don Sweeney, does he hold on to those future first-round picks, or does he weaponize them before Friday's draft? Or is he going to waste kind of the primes of Pastrnak, McAvoy, and Swayman? The Bruins could very well take advantage of this market and try to trade Casey Mittelstadt or Pavel Zacha and get some first-round picks in or some young players to kind of build around this core. Or they double down, they re-sign Zacha, they re-sign Mittelstadt, they re-sign Arvidsson, try to sign maybe Rasmus Andersson, and still really have no shot of competing against the likes of Florida, Buffalo, Montreal, perhaps Ottawa as well, Tampa Bay in the East or the Atlantic Division. Sweeney could orchestrate a true franchise-altering trade to insulate this core and to try to maximize the primes of Pastrnak, McAvoy, and Swayman. But it still may be, I don't want to say useless, but what are the chances of this team winning over the next couple of years? Pretty low. So do you try to go all in for the next couple of years and then maybe rebuild when you have those 3 first-round picks in 2028? Or do you try to flip some of those picks for more immediate help? My personal opinion is the Bruins should be kind of going in the middle. They should be trading some of their assets in order to bring in maybe not draft picks and then kind of starting from scratch. If you get draft picks right now, it could be a few years before they hit. So maybe you look at, like I talked about earlier this week, Seattle, Shane Wright, a guy who was a high draft pick and who could be about ready to pop off at any time. Or a guy like Capo Caco, who was the 2nd overall pick and has shown flashes in Seattle. Flip Zacha and something that way for a deal like that. I think they should be looking at not necessarily selling everything and just going for draft picks, but like Ottawa, they could trade for draft picks and then flip those picks for more immediate help and guys who are younger. Unfortunately, you're stuck with Elias Lindholm. You're stuck with Hampus Lindholm for the next few years. There is some possibility for movement on Hampus, Nikita Zadorov, maybe next season. They don't have full no movement clauses, but Elias Lindholm has one for the next 3 years. Hampus has one for this upcoming season. You know, you want to try to move out Korpisalo. You want to try to move out some like a Sean Corrali or an Alex Steves, Mark Kaslick, Mikey Asimont. These are guys that could be moved to create cap space, to create roster spots. They need to try to get younger, but not so young that these guys won't be able to help the current core. That's basically my core argument for this episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. You need to get in on this. You can't just stand pat and try to re-sign your pending unrestricted free agents and add a Rasmus Anderson to the mix and think you're going to be all right. You need to be proactive. The way the trade market is right now, you could fetch a haul for Pavel Zacha, maybe also Casey Mittelstadt, maybe package Mason Lohrei and Matt Poitras if you don't feel like they're going to contribute, and get some players who are NHL ready now, but who are kind of on the upswing and who could help over the next couple of years. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. Hit me on social at Locked NHL Bruins. Coming up, we'll take a look at the latest buzz around the Bruins as we head into the draft on Friday. ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. Hims offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with licensed healthcare providers online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process designed to make getting care easier. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated, and Hims makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and your comfort. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonnhl. That's hims.com/lockedonnhl for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonnhl. A prescription is required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris. Hims is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. So either way, the Bruins cannot just sit on the sidelines and do nothing here over the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. Like, the last thing I want to see right now is Boston making the 23rd overall pick, re-signing Andrew Peeke, re-signing Victor Arvidsson, signing Rasmus Anderson, and kind of calling it an offseason, because that's just not going to cut it. You have the Capitals adding Jordan Kyrou. You have Buffalo loading up for something when it comes to having the 4th overall pick, creating all this cap space, whether it's re-signing Alex Tuck or going after Connor Hellebuck, or maybe the Ottawa Senators try to go after Jason Robertson. The Maple Leafs are up to something with Morgan Riley. They've already made a couple moves. Like, you're looking at an Atlantic division with the Montreal Canadiens as the defending division champions in the playoffs, going all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. Buffalo Sabres, we know, are a strong team. Toronto, Tampa Bay, they are what they are. The Florida Panthers appear to be back. And then you have, who am I missing? Florida, Tampa, Montreal, Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit, Boston. Who's the other Atlantic Division team? I'm going crazy here. But the reality is the Boston Bruins will have a hard time competing in the Atlantic Division this upcoming season, like, no matter what. And you don't want to waste the primes of Pastrnak, McAvoy, and Swayman, but you also have to be realistic and see that some of these teams are going to be very competitive for the next few years. Buffalo at the top of the division. Tampa, Montreal finished ahead of Boston. The Bruins had 100 points this season, but they're ripe for regression. The Ottawa Senators looking to move on from the Brady Tkachuk era. Detroit Red Wings, we'll see what they do with Dylan Larkin. The Panthers, Maple Leafs finished 7-8 in the division, but you know they're going to be back. The Panthers are going to be a wagon. Maple Leafs trying to be competitive. Like, it's very possible Bruins could finish in the bottom of the division next season. And investing in help right now while not trying to look towards the future would be a massive miscue by the Boston Bruins. They should be trying to get back to relevance, like, in a few years, not this season. 4 big trades on Thursday while the Bruins sat back. They have the 23rd pick. They could pick up a good player who could be an impact guy in a couple years. They signed Simon Zajac to a 1-year extension with an NHL cap hit of $850,000 to be probably the Providence starter. But at the end of the day, you have to pick a lane. And right now, it's not clear exactly what they want to do. And they have to get some clarity. They have to pick a lane. And for my money, it's trying to be better in 29, 30, instead of trying to keep up with the Panthers, the Senators, the Sabres, the Canadiens, the Lightning. Like, the only team that I think could be worse than them next season definitively would be Detroit, depending on what they do here with Dylan Larkin. And then you look at the Metropolitan Division, the Hurricanes, Stanley Cup champions, the Flyers on the up. Capitals just picked up Jordan Kyrou. Like, the New Jersey Devils are trying to get back to where they thought they would be with the core of Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. It's not getting any easier to compete, and the Bruins need to be more proactive and forward-thinking than trying to keep up with teams currently loading up, because as good as their core is, they just don't have the guys behind them right now to succeed. So you either trade first round picks and load up for right now and try to keep up, or you trade a Pavel Zacha, Casey Mittelstadt for picks this year, or younger guys who are primed to jump up, who haven't quite hit in their current markets, like a Shane Wright, like a Mason McTavish. Those are the kind of guys that could make more of an immediate impact in the near term than guys who are going to be drafted this year, next year, and certainly in 2028. I hope that all makes sense. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Hit me up in the comments on YouTube. Hit me up on social at Locked NHL Bruins. Please do subscribe on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube if you have not done so already. Follow along on social at Locked NHL Bruins. It's going to be a lot to break down here over the next couple of days. I believe Don Sweeney is addressing the media here on Wednesday, so we'll touch on what we learned from him on tomorrow's episode. Do we hold the future? Do we all go all in on trading those 2028 picks? Just let me know what you think. And again, thank you for listening. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.